You have an idea and you wonder, should you or shouldn't you? Should you write that book you've always thought about writing or should you not? Well, that's our question today. Welcome again to another episode of the Eternity Changers Show. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host, and I'd love for you to ask your questions, leave your comments, etc. So head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact, and there you can find all my contact information, like my email address, which is intuitively enough, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com. Or you can head over to Twitter. I'm very active there. I did actually write a book on Twitter, and that's Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAlanclif. Also, if you're more of a phone person, well, I've got a 1-800 number for you, actually a 1-877. It's 1-877-POD-ECHO, 1-877-763-3246. Speaking of pod, this actually is released every week as a podcast, and if you would like to subscribe to the show, just go over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/subscribe, and I've got every single one of the links for all the shows. There are 5 of them. I've got all the links for all the shows over there on that page just to make it easy. If you enjoy the show and would like to leave a review, you might guess that I've got a short link for you. Well, could be shorter, but one that's easy to remember. Again, trinitydigitalmedia.com/iTunes reviews. So if you head over to either of those links, that would absolutely help. The subscription is free, and it makes sure that you don't miss any of these shows as they're delivered. And you can choose whether you'd prefer audio or video. Fun stuff there. So, let's get started talking about the 7 reasons you should write a book. You see, I think that pretty much everyone should. Now, you might be thinking that that would make it difficult, but I think that the cream will rise to the top. I think that there are some great books out there that have died with their authors because the author didn't have the confidence to write them. So I want to be the voice of confidence in your ears to tell you why you should at least try. What does it hurt to try? So here are some reasons why I think that you should try and write a book. Number 1, it gives you authority. Now, look at that word authority. This just occurred to me as I was writing this down. I'd misspelled it once, left out a syllable, and then I wrote it correctly, and I realized, wait, authority has as its root word author. Someone who is an author has, by definition, authority. You are an author. You have authority. Those go together. Saying, I wrote the book on, and not using that as a saying, but using that quite literally, is very powerful. So having written a book gives you authority. So I have written a book on podcasting. That means I have authority in podcasting. I've written a book on Twitter. That means I have authority on Twitter. I've written a book on pursuing your dreams, what this show is about. And so that means that I have authority in that area. I've written a book on serving in a church. So that means I have authority in that area. Just knowing that I've written these books, doesn't that think, well, you must know something. I mean, you can't fill a book full of one sentence that you have. No. It means I've thought about it, and I've just come up with a bunch of ideas that I think need to go out in the world. Now, that brings me to number 2. when you write a book, it helps you distill your ideas. You have probably several ideas floating around in your head somewhere, and you don't know exactly which are the important ones, which aren't, which need to be fleshed out some more, which are great already. As you're writing, you get the opportunity to just increase your authority and distill down your ideas so that they're much more powerful. That's what distillation is, by the way. You know, when you distill alcohol, I know some of you are Baptists and don't believe in this, but just scientifically speaking, when you distill alcohol, what you're doing is you're removing other things that are not alcohol. When you remove the other things that are not alcohol, you get much more powerful alcohol. So that's why you can start with something that's merely fermented, and then you distill it and it becomes a much more powerful alcohol. So think of your ideas that same way. What you want to do is, as you're writing, you're removing the impurities, you're removing the extraneous stuff to get the most powerful ideas out there. And that is quite interesting. Next, it's a valuable marketing resource. What do I mean by that? Let's say that you're a consultant, let's say that you're a speaker. Let's say that it's down to 2 people to be a consultant for an organization or to be a speaker for an organization. One has written a book, one has not. Which one do you choose? Additionally, what if that person who's written a book sends a copy of the book to you? Wow. Not only has this person written a book, they've sent me a copy, I've flipped through it, I can see what they believe, what they're thinking, I can see their area of expertise. That is powerful. So I think that you should do it as a marketing resource, just something that you can send out to introduce yourself to potential clients. Number 4, it can be a source of passive income. There have been months where I haven't promoted my books whatsoever. 0 additional work. And I've still made money from them. Now, am I retiring on that money? No. You happen to notice that I'm still here. I'm still working. I'm still putting in the daily grind. But I didn't have to do anything additional in that month. It was passive income to me. If I had done some advertising, which auto-renewed, that it could still be passive income. If I figured out a way to put in $1 and get back $1.25, then that is passive, and that's pretty cool. So I think that this is something valuable for you to consider as a passive income stream that will help you as you're building your dream, as you're chasing after your calling, etc. Number 5, it can open doors for you. Sometimes someone will meet you and they won't believe that, you're a down-to-earth person. Really, you didn't do anything, until you tell them that you wrote a book. Then it opens the door. They see you in a different light. Throughout all of Western history, writing a book has been something that so few people have done. Now, granted, more people are doing it nowadays, but it's still fairly rare. How many authors do you personally know? Even if you count me, how many? How many people do you know? Look at all your Facebook friends. I have maybe 550 some odd Facebook friends, and with 550 Facebook friends, I think I know 5 or 6 authors. So maybe 1% of my friends are authors. So think about that. Think about how it can open doors for you. Number 6, if people ask you the same question over and over and over again, maybe you should just write the book about it, because people are curious about that subject matter. So I'm getting a lot of questions about live streaming, and that's one of the subjects that I'm thinking about writing a book on, because I do it every day. How many people in the world live stream every day? Well, there's probably a good number of people that do it for television stations and things like that. But how many people that are in the church niche do it every day? Not a lot. Maybe someone working for the Christian Broadcasting Network or Trinity Broadcasting Network or something like that. Other than that, me. So that's not that I'm special, by the way. That's just part of my experience. What is something that you do enough that people come to you and they assume that you know whatever answer that they have a question about in your area? Maybe you should write that down so that you don't have to repeat yourself over and over and over again, and so that you don't forget the details that you need to include so that they are successful. So I think that that's a very good reason. And number 7, and perhaps one of the more important reasons why you should write a book, is you have a subject in mind, and you've had a subject in mind, but you've talked yourself out of it. You've said, oh, I'm not smart enough to write a book. I couldn't write that much. 150 pages sounds like a lot. Well, what if you were to divide that up? Let's say that you wrote every day for just 2 months. I happen to know that a 30,000 word book would be about 1,000 words a day if you wrote it in 1 month. That would be about 500 words a day if you wrote it in 2. 500 words isn't really all that daunting. You probably write more than that right now if you write a lot of comments on blogs, if you do any blogging, if you write a lot on your Facebook page. 500 words, really not a lot. But if you want to get to 45,000 words, still only 750 words a day over 2 months. Let's say you take the weekends off. What if you write 700 words a day, 5 days a week, for 3 months? Imagine what it would be like if at the end of the summer you had a rough draft of a book. Think about that. It's possible. My last book that I wrote in November. That's it. I wrote it in November. Now, I'd been coming up with the ideas for a while before, but that is powerful to start a month without a book and end a month with one. Now, it still needs to be edited. It still needs to be formatted. I don't think that I've even begun to broach the topic of the cover. Marketing is something that for me is a bit of a challenge. So all those things still need to be done. But I have 45,000 words-ish of that book. I think actually I have more than that. That is interesting. So, what if you took some time? What if you took this summer? A lot of times people have downtime in the summer. So what if you took some of your downtime and just wrote? Just as an experiment. Humor me on this. What if you tried to write a book? What if you had as a goal that you would write 700 words a day, Monday through Friday? I bet you could do it. I bet you could get past all your inadequacies. Let's say you're not great at grammar. That's what editors are for. Let's say that you can sometimes be verbose. That's what editors are for. Let's say that you have trouble putting your thoughts together. That's what writing's for. So write, don't edit while you're writing, just write and see what you get at the end of the time. If you can't type, write it out longhand. It doesn't matter. Just try and get it all out and see if by getting it all out, you don't come up with a book that you can use to go out and change eternity. Till next time, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Don't forget to head over to TrinityDigitalMedia.com/iTunes reviews and give the show a review. 4 to 5 stars would be my preference, but I'd rather you be honest than to lie. And I'd love to hear about what you've done as you're going out to change eternity.